Morning, my brother. Good, good. And how are you
Good.
doing?
I'm all right.
Nice.
I'm all right. No complaints. Clearly, I'm better than Andrew.
Yeah, geez. I met Andrew yesterday, and yeah, you
Oh
can see he
no.
wasn't doing too well. I think, yeah, he just needs a rest, a day or two to just literally do nothing and rest.
Let's hope it is just the rest that he needs, and he hasn't picked up something. But it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So, Andrew,
Um,
like backstage, Dave and I had a bet. Dave thinks you picked up like some hectic illness that I will not discuss now. So,
hey, you guys are going back to expos. I'm still sus of those.
yeah, oh, it was cool. It was cool. But I see Kali is on. Hopefully Kali's
Yeah,
internet's any good. Kali, how you doing?
good. Well, Kylie's joining in. Welcome in, everybody. Let us know where you're joining from. Let us know what you're doing. If you got some deals on the table, it's always
Guys,
good to know that. Cool. Kylie's definitely struggling with some internet. So, guys, if you're in the chat, say hi, comment, let us know what you're doing, let us know what you're busy with. It's always good to see you guys and to see where you're joining from. If you're here for the first time, please let us know that as well. It's always cool. Um,
Yeah, I see Kali's gone. But yeah, it's super exciting to be here and welcome to Andrew and Dave's weekly coffee chat.
it's Andrew Daves and Dan's at the moment, but
Yeah, I was
this
wondering,
at
can
this
we
rate,
add
we can just
mine?
take it over, Dan.
But it's all good. Let's see who's joining us today, Dave.
Yeah, man. Let's see. Otherwise, what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any guests planned for today. Like we said, Andrew's down, so we're going to talk about what's been happening, what's been going on, and then we can. Sorry, let me just sort out this admin, and then we'll quickly go into some Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure you're sending those through nice and early so that Dan and I can tackle those as we go through. But otherwise, yeah, Dan. Tell me, Dan, you guys were at Decorex last week. How was that? What was happening there?
Yeah, yeah. So I think Andrew and Alani and the team went. I couldn't make Decorex, unfortunately, but from what I gather, it was a 4 day expo, and it was just awesome. Hey, got to network with a lot of individuals, some of the people from SAP, and some of the actual students did come through, and it was all structured around a design and renovations, and that was just the beauty of it. Hey, we missed you, man.
Yeah, man. Uh, it was a big. How was the showing? Decorex has always been great. I remember I attended the 2018 Decorex, maybe the 2019 Decorex here in Cape Town. It was huge. And I think we've lost Dan. Oy vey. All right, well, guys, if you manage to get to the Decorex,
Have you lost?
yeah, I lost you. Are you back?
Yeah,
Um,
all
Tell me, Dan,
good.
do you guys work Okay. Cool. What I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through the questions, sorry, the events for the upcoming week. There's not much happening. And then we'll see if we've got Dan and Kali back with some decent internet. Hi, Kali. Hey, Dan, are you guys with me?
Yeah, I'm back. Huh? Like I
hi.
never left.
Okay, how's the internet doing
We can hear you, which is progress.
We can. I promise this is not a Joburg thing, huh?
Uh-huh. I'm spotting a trend. Just
now?
saying.
But it's awesome. It's awesome. Are we going through the event you said, Dave, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much happening, ladies and
Yeah.
gents. Nice and quick and easy. So there
I
is a webinar on Saturday.
war.
Okay. Um, there's a webinar on Saturday that's happening, so that's going to be running from 9 until about lunchtime. Jade Barkes is going to be hosting it, and he's going to be discussing the 3 ways that you can fund your portfolio growth. As you know, many of us, we get our first couple of deals in the bag, and it's a little challenging to go over from there. So I'm going to quickly post the link over here. So it's the 6th of August at 9 o'clock, online via Zoom, so anyone can join. If they have better internet than Dan and Kali, then they're going to be in a good spot. There's the link over there. And let's go. Otherwise, yeah, man, Dan, what's happening? What are the deals looking like? Do you have any deals coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a very productive week for myself. Firstly, last week we had the Tile Africa event actually before Decorex, and it was all around renovations and project management, what to look out for. And I got a lot of lessons that I can use in my future deals. I'm actually working on 2 installment sales. One, the seller signed last week with Alexa, and one I'm hoping to be signed this week. So yeah, very blessed and good my side, hey. And yourself, Dave, what have you been working on in Cape Town in terms of deals?
And I've just got a couple of deals that are active at the moment. So we've got a development that we're busy waiting on planning on. So that's always fun and stressful. And yeah, just got a couple of projects, a couple of refurbs that are in progress at the moment, which is always good.
Awesome. And you mentioned the story of one of your students a couple of weeks back doing a deal, having found a deal. Any progress on that one?
I have no idea what you're talking about. There's too
Really?
many deals, too many students. Yeah, I mean, it's good. The students are doing tons of deals. I know John and Akashni are here in Cape Town. They're doing a bunch of work. Hamad and Khalida are finding some good deals. So there's definitely opportunity at the moment. I think I'll be curious to get your input on it, but with the repo rates changing as aggressively as they did last week, it's kind of changed the way that people are looking at buying at the moment. They're definitely, I've heard agents talk about viewings have dropped by like 30% already.
Geez, that's intense, huh? That's intense. Yeah, in my opinion, obviously not being any sort of expert, I definitely feel there is an opportunity out there for the educated investor, provided you know what you are doing, provided you know what strategies you can run with the interest rates rising. And yeah, when COVID hits, all of a sudden,
Cool. Dan's fading again. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the chat box over there, let us know where you're joining from, what's happening. What are your thoughts on the interest rates? How shocked were you guys by the 75
repo rates
basis
were
points?
at the lowest points, and now that did there for a second though.
For a long time, Dan. You pretty much never responded
and
to
I'm
me.
talking, yeah. I thought we were having a conversation, yeah.
No, you're just talking to yourself, but it's good.
Oh, this is awful. This is awful. But yeah, I was just answering your question regarding the repo rate. You said you wanted my input, huh?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just saying I'm not an expert at it, but like because of COVID and the interest rates dropping as low as they did, a lot of first-time home buyers went in thinking, geez, yes, I can finally afford this sort of price range. Now that repo rates are increasing, they're having a rude awakening. And if you are an educated investor, in opinion, there will be an opportunity if you know what deals and structures that do work, huh?
And we're losing you way too much. But that's fun. I'm just trying to solve this. Are you with us yet, Dan?
Yeah, I am. You keep losing me.
Yep, 100%. Cool. We've got Safira from Cape Town, Walalo from Johannesburg, Julian also from Johannesburg. That's good. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Yeah, Dan's definitely having some internet issues with Malalo, which is fun, and so is Kali. Kali's still not back on. Dan, do we want to give a shot at you're doing something next weekend with Malalo, aren't you? What's happening?
Yeah, definitely.
What's happening there?
Yeah, hopefully my internet does not cut me off. So next week, if you are in and around Naturena, we are hosting an event with Mulalo and Opal students around how do youngsters kickstart their property investment journey. With the new opportunities out there, Dave, we've seen in Joburg with the interest rates rising, and something Anton and a lot of the team members are doing is that they employing the installment sale method, the rent-to-rent model. So we're going to come down with Ben Malapile and the entire team, and it's all around how the youth can get started in this testing times, because it's definitely a time where there is tons of opportunities, provided you know what you're doing. Hey? So that's going to be good fun. I'm super excited to come to Opal, and thanks so much for the invite, Mulalo. Looking forward to connecting with you.
No, man, that's always good to see.
Did you get the hold of that?
Yeah, we did.
Oi, man.
It's good. It's good. 100%. So I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Yeah, man, that's what's happening. I know we got an ABSA event coming up. That's on the 23rd of August, so that's quite a far ways away. Always looking good to see that. And webinar coming up in about 2 weeks. But it's cool, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, that pretty much takes us through most of our topics and discussion points. Unfortunately, we are having some connectivity issues today, which are making it a little bit slower. But if there's a question or two, maybe Daniel and I can sort that out, and we can go through from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise,
But yeah, let's see in the comment section down below. Mulalo, let us know what you're working on. Hey, it always feels like you're working on bigger and awesome projects. It will be interesting to see what you are working on. Dave, not sure if there is some. I'd like to definitely touch a bit on the Absa Bank event coming a couple of weeks. I'm not sure if you were here last year when we had the Absa Bank event and talking about the different products Absa Bank offers to property investors. I know Absa spoke of insurance as a whole. So that's going to be an awesome one where it is around the same structure as last year's one, around how individuals can use the different products within Absa Bank, the things the general public do not know about within Absa Bank to push your investment journey along. So that's going to be a really fun one, Dave. Not sure what you got from last year's event, huh?
Man, I can't remember it. Time is an illusion. I know. I remember we were planning the Absa event earlier this year, and we're sitting there. We're like, "Oh, what did we do last year? When did we do it last year?" And it just took forever for us to even remember what happened. The
Jeez,
COVID brains definitely made time weird.
I thought my memory was bad, but it's all good. I see Julian is on the line. Julian Mulalo, let us know, what are you working on in your portfolio? It will be interesting to find out what everyone is doing in these testing times with interest rates climbing. It will be interesting to see what you are all busy with, huh? And I see Eve has a question there, Dave, huh?
Good. Awesome. Can we kindly explain the installment sale agreements? How can one make money through this option? And how much does one need to enter into such? Okay, cool. So, first and foremost, I'm not an expert in installment sale agreements. I've only done it once or twice. Dan, I think similar to you, you've also done like one or two.
Yeah, definitely, huh? Yeah, just one or two, huh? And yeah, from my experience, I'd say, depending on your negotiations, how much of a deposit needed. So what costs to enter is a deposit needed. If your property is above R1 million, there is transfer duty you have to pay, but within 3 months. And then, you have to pay for the Section 20 contract that the attorney puts together, which can vary, but it shouldn't be more than R1,000. Hey, Dave?
Yeah, I've seen on the upper end around 20s, but about 10, 15 is probably your average.
Yeah, so definitely, the cool thing about an installment sale, what I like about it is the cost to entry isn't that high compared to, say, if you're going to buy a normal property. So yeah, depending on your negotiations, if you do not have to pay a deposit and the property price is below R1 million, you could just pay the Section 20 contract, so you pay your attorney to put it together for you, huh? So that's always good and very nice to see you, Miss Eve. Miss Eve is the mother of Kamogelo Molefe. So very nice to see you. Hey? And let us know what else you're working on, Miss Eve. And I see a couple of questions, a couple of comments are coming through. Hey, Dave?
Yeah, 100%. Maybe just on that side from me. So installment sale agreements, the way they make money for us, and the most important thing about installment sale agreements is cash flow. So on ISAs, we generally do more of like a buy-to-let type program. All that we're doing is we're getting the seller to help us fund that property. That's all that's really happening. But the idea is that we're holding that property in the long term and we're earning a monthly cash flow of it. And then we just need to be aware that installment sale agreement will mature in some future date. So you might have closing terms on those installment sale agreements, like a balloon payment, like you would on a car. But Kali, are you with us? Hi, Kali.
I am. Hopefully, I am like properly. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can. It's good. Let's not move. Hopefully everything's there. So.
Oh, Kali, you're giving us Go Burgers a bad name. Hey? Dave's having the time of his life, yeah.
We're in the same place, Daniel. We are in the same place. You cannot even pretend to blame me for this. We are in the same place.
But it's cool. We're actually talking about the type of deals we're doing. And what I found interesting, Dave, I actually just found out last week, Alexis is doing, I always thought the installment sale method, the longest period before about 60 months. I didn't know you could renew it. That's a good way to literally, if you are taking over someone's bond, obviously making sure the bank knows and that sort of thing. That was a very interesting one. And Kali, you're actually a first-time home buyer. Can you let us know how's your journey going? Are you viewing properties? Have you found anything interesting yet?
I haven't necessarily found anything interesting yet. I was basically structuring a deal for a joint venture. And it kind of fell through, but not in like a bad way where it's like, oh gosh darn it. But what was interesting is that I think you had mentioned earlier on, even though you guys couldn't hear me, I could hear you, regarding the repo rate. And a lot of the time where, COVID was happening and it went down, that would have been like an ideal time to start buying into property. However, the interesting part is that even though it's gone up, it's still significantly lower than what it should have been had COVID not happened. So it's still really, really a good time for a first-time home buyer, be it for your own personal capacity or property, to actually get into the market right now, because we are fundamentally in technically like a seller's market, meaning you have more negotiating capacity, I beg your pardon, than what you would ordinarily have if, let's say, it was a buyer's market. So I think for all the first-time home buyers, this is really, really a good time for us. And I think if you ever needed like a last push or a nudge, this would be the time, because you don't want to blink 3 years from now and the market fundamentally different and you're like, oh, I should have started like 3 years ago. This is the perfect time, especially if you're a first-time home buyer.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, any advice for say Kali, things to look out for, and everyone else that are looking to buy their first property during these times?
I think for me at the moment, first-time investors, more as a whole, not necessarily first-time home buyers, because hopefully you guys are taking your first-time home buyer and allowances and benefits and applying that to an investment property.
Yeah.
Just stress test. Stress testing is so important in the way the market's running at the moment. I mean, 75 basis points in a week is a huge jump, and it's just an example of the kind of stuff that we're going to start to see. Living expenses are going to be going up. Cost of just running those properties is going to go up. It's going to be a lot harder. So just stress test everything. Make sure that you've got your margins in, and rather like squirrel away some money. Make sure your sink funds are good and healthy, because there's going to be a little more tougher times coming from the economic markets in the near future. We're going to start seeing recessions hit the big Western markets and Europe in a couple of months. So, and that'll put some pressure. So they just stress test, make sure you got your margins, and your first deal is always around not losing money for me anyway. So
yeah. Yeah, don't lose money, Kali.
Don't lose money.
Yeah, no matter what you do, Kali, just don't lose money. And I see Julian in the comment section is actually working on their first flip. Profit margin is around 20% and ROI around 500% in Randburg. Julian, let us know what's your exit strategy.
I saw that too. I'm like, what? Okay, Julian, talk to me.
Julian, do you need some investors?
Because
I'll take 100% ROI. It's fine.
Yeah, man. We don't need much. We're not stingy here. But yeah, let us know, Julian. How far along are you with regards to the flip? I see my little sisters on here looking for attention. But let us know, Julian. How far along are you in this project? And what's your exit strategy in case you do not get your buyer? Because that's a big one with flips, especially in this current market. If you do not have a pool of buyers, how else are you going to make money? So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, 100%. Carly, now that we have you on though, what else have you been up to? You're looking to use the first property. Did you join with the Decorex Expo and any of the events recently?
I did. I unfortunately missed the Decorex Expo, but I was at the Tile Africa event. I'm super excited for the Sappin Women event that's going to be happening on the 20th, and that's for all the ladies in the chat box watching us. You guys have to get your tickets. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be hosting it. But the Tile Africa one was amazing by virtue of the fact that you had actually demos of the things that you could be using for refurbishments. You had insight expertise in terms of refurbishments and renovations and what to look out for, what to be careful for, what you should actually be going for. Because a lot of the time, like you said, especially as a first-time home buyer, the thing is you don't want to lose money. But the problem is you could end up losing money by trying not to lose money. So let's say, for example, with renovations, you could maybe think, okay, as long as it's like affordable, only to find out that like 8 months later, you're going to have to redo your entire tiling because you tried to skimp out because you weren't trying to lose money. So the Tile Africa one was amazing and very informative. But the next one that's going to be happening is on the 20th of August. And that's the Sappin Women's event. I'm super excited about that. In terms of deals, I actually had to put a pause on deals for a little bit because I was structuring essentially my, me with the speaking. However, I'm super amped for that. I have been looking at a few properties. One is, and I think this is something we actually don't discuss, right? Especially when you're first time home buyer. Ideally, I think a lot of us usually want to flip because it's an in and out. You don't necessarily have to be responsible for anything for an extended period of time. And so, people always twitch very much when you talk multi-let, you talk buy-to-let, you talk anything that means you have to retain it and maintain it. I'm going to coin that, retain and maintain. But what I wanted to say is that the strategy of flipping is great because obviously you have like a cash lump sum to feed into your other investments. But also, as a first-time home buyer, you can actually just go for multi-lets or passive income. Because like you said, in terms of the recession and the economy, it would be great to get a lump sum, but it would also be awesome to have passive income pertaining to the fact that it's your first property. So you can even use that to leverage other things and then extend your portfolio. So I think what I just wanted to say was that in terms of like, I know personally, my strategy wasn't always flip first and then eventually we'll get there. But then I'm like, I actually don't think buying to hold is so bad, even though it's going to be your first run. Like you said, stress test, do your numbers rigorously, but you shouldn't be, ferociously afraid of it.
No, 100%. Because at the end of the day, time in the markets, and that's Barry Everett quote, if memory serves, time in the market is far more important than time in the market. So just having that first buy to let, as long as it can take care of itself. I remember I was speaking to, oh no, the names escaped me. One of the applicants for beginning of the year for Investor of the Year award last year or 2019, and I think the deal was making like 40 rand a month. And I'm like, it's good. There you go. You're making 40 rand a month. It's a start. It's the first one. Your rent will go up in a year or two. Your bond payments are going to go down. You're going to get the margin, and eventually you'll start making some decent cash out of it. But the first deal is the first deal, and just get it going, which is always good to have.
100%. I think, Kali, you touched on the Tile Africa event. I'm actually like frustrated with South Africa. Dave, I know like a week before the event, South Africa made all promises that they had a special toilet seat where you just sit and it does everything for you. We get to the event and they don't let us try it. Like, how ridiculous is that? Apparently, like, no one would want second-hand automated toilets. So, yeah. That was my
Daniel,
only
you're special. You are aware of that, right? Just in case nobody told you, you're very special. Like, you're really,
Well,
really
Anzu
special.
was pretty mad as well, huh? Anzu was
I'm
pretty
just
mad
gonna
as well.
sail directly past the stuff.
It's all I'm saying. It's all... But
it's
I'm
all
seeing that Julian is saying that there are, what's this? They're still at the conveyancing phase, and then the exit strategy is letting young families. Okay. Like, Julian, how did you get to 500% return on investment? Like, give us like a rough overdraft of how we get to that.
I've done
That's
better
the
than
deal of the
500%
century.
ROI.
You know, I've also done
okay.
500% of ROI.
It's just there's very small amounts of capital I put in.
This is not the bragging coffee chat, okay? This is the learning.
It's all about capital exposure at the end of the day. Back-to-backs are a key example of where you can get ROIs like that because on a back-to-back, I remember I flipped the property down in Strand, an apartment. My entire refurb was 7,000 Rand. My holding costs were about 5. Like, I ended up putting 12 grand in and making about 60 grand for back-to-back. So it's
Not
definitely
too
gonna be there. And then so it's all about managing your capital exposure. I think a very common thing is when people get started in property, they think they have to put a ton of money into deals, and the more you can challenge yourself on that conception, the better you'll do. It's all about that exponential growth.
But I think I want to touch on something you
100%.
just said, Dave, in connection with when you're like, you put about like 15K and made about 60, right? I think something else, especially, I'm always going to be speaking from the perspective of a first-time buyer, is that the assumption and the want is always obviously to make, a large sum of money. However, I think the large sum is dependent on the time put in, because if I'm putting in 12 and I come out with 60 and the entire process took me like 2 months max, that is significant.
Yeah.
Whereas you want a 250K profit, but you're going in like a year and a half. When you break it down, Dave actually makes more money than me, because in terms of time and effort, and like you said, you're taking in holding costs and all of that. So also, again, something people need to take into account is time versus margin. Because if I'm making 60K in 2 months, I'll take that over 250 over a year and a half. Not to say don't take deals like that, but you always want to be cognizant of that, because people will just look at big numbers. They're like, oh, I'm going to make, this much money. And it's like, yeah, but how much did you put into it? Yeah. So I think that's something we didn't necessarily touch into.
I mean, that's why I stopped doing flips, because refurbs took, once you buy a property, wait for it to transfer, then you do a refurb, and the refurb's a month or 2 months, and then you relist the property, and then you try to sell it. By the time you're done with that process, it's almost a year. And like, so for me, I very much switched off flips in my portfolio and like the buy, refurb, sell model, and went only lent on back-to-backs or developments, because I could do a small development in 18 months, or I could refurb a single flat or house in 9. It's just the maths isn't quite there and it's a return on time invested. And I remember when I started this game, my mentors and coaches, they're like, well, because the question when you start is, how do I calculate how much profit I should get? And Kylie, what you're hitting on is one of those things. It's, you look at how long is this deal going to take you and how much do you want to make per month of the deal. It's a viable way, especially on a flip, of how much money do I want to make. But not a lot of people go into investing
Gordon
with
is
property
saying,
first.
sorry for interjecting, but I just saw this now. Gordon is saying, I have a rental property that is costing me approximately 3K per month. Woo, you are in the red. I think I should sell the apartment and source a deal that pays for itself. What are your thoughts? Okay, Daniel, Dave, what advice do you have for Gordon?
Daniel, you want to go
good
first?
question, Dave. Yeah, definitely. number one, make sure you join Jade this Saturday. This is a fun exercise we normally do on Wealth Builders. Number one, it's cool that you know you're losing money. You pay. So a couple of things you can do. Number one, explore. Can you increase your rent or expenses? There's a lot of exercises we do during these workshops. Can we prolong bond from 20 to 30 years? Is that possible? If yes, what that does is it reduces your monthly bond that you have. Can you increase rents? Are you charging the market rate? Can you put in Wi-Fi? Can you renovate the property and bring it up to standard that allows you to charge a bit more for your rent? So my suggestion, and increase either your income or reduce your, and then we can sell if nothing works. I'm not sure, Dave, what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, it's always hard to have a property in your portfolio that's losing you money every month. It's never fun. Hopefully we all try and avoid it, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen. Something's going to, you're going to misjudge something, or the expense is going to hit you that you're not going to expect, and you're going to have that sort of drain on your portfolio. So for me, when I work with coaching students who have existing properties, one of the first things we do is essentially what Dan was talking about now, is make sure you're comparable with the markets, because a lot of people are generally under collecting rent compared to what they can in the markets. And then you need to look at it. I mean, if you're losing 3,000 rand a month and you can maybe get a tenant that would, reduce that loss by 1,000, that sounds fine and all, but you also need to look at the cost factor of changing tenants, of replacing tenants, of having a vacancy period for a month or so. So that's always quite challenging. So cycling tenants is one thing. Ideally, you do what Dan's talking about and you generate alternative income. So if you can billboard or rent out the garage separately to the main house, that sort of stuff, that's definitely going to go, or switching to a strategy like multi-let, but that can require further capital investments.
Yeah.
And the concern there is you're putting good money after bad, and should you not just cut your losses and go? And that's the biggest thing for me when you look at rental properties that are underperforming or negatively performing. It's not just like, if you look at it on monthly, cool, that's fine. It's 3,000 rand a month. It doesn't feel too bad. But when you look at it and say 36,000 a year, 100,000 rand every 3 years, that's when it starts to get a little scary. You're like, okay, well, with that 3,000 rand I'm putting into that property, I could, fund another property. I could move that cash flow somewhere else. I could release that affordability and go there. So you definitely want to have a conversation with some people. So this is one of the things that's really nice about the blueprint. So for those of you guys who don't know, SAPN and TPA have a blueprint program. It's mostly run by Leon Castleman and Kristen Jansen. So what they'll do is they'll go through an in-depth analysis of your portfolio and look at each of your properties and see how they're gearing and how they're performing. And they can help advise on this, because this is definitely something that you want to make sure you've got all the information for. Because there's tons of levers you can pull, and you can try and do a refi. You can challenge the banks to drop your interest rates and drop your payments, go that way. So if you've got multiple properties, you can look at a universal funding solution to help reduce your payments. Insurance, you might be paying too much over there. That's a very common one. People waste money on insurance. So there's tons of ways to look at it, but without an in-depth analysis, it's kind of hard. So go do your research, do some comps. And then my suggestion to you, Gordon, is come to an event. I know you're in Cape Town. I don't think there's anything on the calendar at the moment for Cape Town. Maybe I'll plan a breakfast in the near future, and talk to other guys and compare your numbers and look at it and see how everyone else is performing. If you can find someone who's got a property in the same markets, measure against them, see how they're doing, see what they're doing to make money. But unfortunately, that's not an uncommon story. It's we hear it all the time.
Well, then technically the takeaway is that you're not alone.
All the time. We can all lose money together, huh?
No. Hopefully not.
No, I'm saying, I think on an important thing is, can you run an Airbnb, running the market you're probably situated in, way to move forward? I see Simone actually posted the links. So Gordon, just make sure you're attending the workshop with Jade this weekend. It is and it would be a good opportunity to pick the brains of other investors and answer facing this issue.
I remember when I started coaching Jay, he had a property that was losing him around, I think it was 2,000 rand a month. Long story short, and I think you'll learn this on Saturday, we ended up just offloading the property. Sometimes it's too far gone, cut your losses, and just amputate it before it spreads.
Yeah. Okay.
Start.
Fantastic. Hope that was that advice was awesome for you, Gordon. Like you said, please join the chat so you can actually figure out what strategies you have.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm just seeing if there's anything else in the chat box.
And Jade, I was going to say, Dave, I don't see anything. We want to quickly wrap up with the events of that we are in the next couple of weeks and just see if anything comes up.
Yeah, 100%. So let me run through those again. So that's the event we're talking about at the moment. So thank you for breaking. It's the 3 creative ways to fund your portfolio growth. That's August 6th. So that's Saturday from 9 until about lunchtime. Simone and I have both shared the link for that. Looking a little further afield for our events, we've got, click up finding loads. Dan, you're out in Opal next weekend for Sapin Youth, talking some stuff over there. So if you guys are in the area, I believe Dan, you said people can pull in, but it's not a huge event. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So we're hosting it with Opal and Lalo.
Do you want to try again, Dan? And giving up. Patience is all worth it. And then Kylie, you were quickly touching on the August 20th. We have a women's event that's up in Joburg. Kylie, what's the plan over there?
So it's a Sapin Women event. This is I think it's about our third one, and we basically want to create a space that is similar to youth, but it's just for women, because we understand and we picked up on the fact that women tend to have different difficulties as opposed to the general public, and so we wanted to create a space where women can discuss, engage, and exchange information and knowledge pertaining to their property journeys. It's going to be happening on the 20th of August. It's in Woodmead, Johannesburg, but you can contact Alani or support on our website in terms of getting tickets, so you can essentially distinctly figure out where that's going to be. I'm going to be hosting, like I said, so I'm really, really looking forward to seeing everybody. And I think it's really going to be, because the beauty about Sapin Women is, because I know, even as a female myself and a first-time buyer, there's like a lot of conservative behavior that women just in turn exchange in. So like there's certain risks that we feel not so comfortable with taking. And obviously in property, there's times where you're just gonna have to take risks, right? So when you have like a space where you feel comfortable enough to explain that, I feel a bit of risk adverse when it comes to taking on this deal. I was actually conversing with a lady earlier on where she was supposed to be part of a 3-way joint venture, but because it was her first one, she wasn't quite comfortable in her understanding of how it's supposed to go down. And so talking about stuff like that, discussing deals that particularly as women that we might be maybe conservative about, or things that we need to be taking an initiative more. So I'm super excited about that event, ladies. Absolutely. On the 20th of August, you have to show up.
So just a question that came in, or Abile, steps to take when you want an investment property. Kylie, maybe we can answer this question, then we can wrap it up, or maybe you can answer this question because you're working on your first few deals. What are the steps when people want to get involved in property? Maybe just to add to it first. Jade will cover this on Saturday, so you might want to register for this weekend's webinar, and you can chat to Jade about it as well. But Kylie, what's your process? What are you following?
Well, essentially, the first one was education before anyway. Can't just go out and start looking at properties. I mean, you could, but remember the number one rule: try not to lose money. So if you don't have the education for it, the latter is more prone to happen. But also, I think another thing that people need to understand is that the deals that are the real deals very seldom are going to just show up on public platforms, right? And that's something else that people don't quite particularly pick up, because obviously people, first thing somebody's going to think, let me go on like private property, for example, and start searching for thingy. Yes, you can absolutely find deals, amazing deals in platforms like that, but the likelihood of, you know, amazing deals showing up on a platform anybody can access is going to be slim. So you need to start surrounding yourself in circles and in spaces and situations, and aligning yourself with people who can offer these deals, i.e. Real estate agents, auctioneers, again, depending on your strategies. Auctioneers, advertising for people that you will gladly take on their opportunities or their properties off their hands. So it's with education, and with that education, then you start to learn how you get this, because the likelihood of you getting like a 500% return on investment on private properties quite slim. Not impossible, but quite slim. But the likelihood of, you know, like somebody saying, hey, I heard you buy properties, I actually want to sell my grandmother's property or something, that's easier. But the only way you can get to those kinds of deals is when you have the education, because the education is going to expose you to the network, to how you actually find yourself in those spaces. That's one of the first ones. Secondly, you need to establish a strategy. And like I was saying earlier, I'm not it's that there's times where we automatically kind of go to a certain strategy, especially as first-time buyers, which usually is flip, because we are less prone to want to have to maintain properties or look after property or something like that. But the main thing is find a strategy. However, just actually take the initiative. Right? Because you're going to sit there for a very long time if you keep going, well, this is not going to ideally work. And you know, at the end of the day, like Dave said, he had somebody who was making a 40 Rand profit margin. But fact is, he's gotten his first deal out of the way. So once you have the confidence of your first deal, all the other ones become a tad bit more simple. And I think Daniel will attest to this. So before anything, I think those are the two fundamental things. Get the education, and then after that, start putting yourself out there. When we start talking about bonds and funds and monies, a wise man once said, if the deal is good, the money will come.
Yeah, 100%. Dan, anything you want to add over there? Orabilia, what I did do for you so long while we were for Dan to respond is I dropped you a link to the free accelerator course. That's something Andrew and I shot a couple of years ago. You're welcome to go look at it. It's a very quick course, but it does give you that sort of high level view of how property investment works and what processes you're going to want to follow. But I'm 100% with Kali on her main point. Is just start by educating yourself. Definitely get the right people in your corner. Just learn what you need to do. Dan?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thanks, Kali, for that. I think, yeah.
All right. I think there you go. That's me. I'm tired of your Joburg internet, guys. I'm so tired of this.
It really is embarrassing us. I couldn't. I really I tried. Technically, I redeemed us, but yeah, it's very embarrassing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're sitting in a stairwell, Kali. It looks like you moved into a stairwell somewhere.
I just moved literally to the kitchen because that's where the Wi-Fi is the strongest.
I'm imagining you running around the apartment building, finding a place with good signal.
Yeah, literally just in the basement near like the main, what's that thing? The main circuit board. Just like, oh, yes, now we're good.
Awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, all the links are in the chat box. Kali, thank you so much for joining. Dan, thank you for joining as well. Really appreciate you guys being here. Andrew and I will be back. Hopefully Andrew will be good and healthy next week, and we'll be back on next week, Monday, same time, same place. Thanks, Kali.
Okay, and for me, thank you so much for inviting me. This is actually awesome. I promise the next time I do this, I will have impeccable Wi-Fi. We're talking like just like creme de la creme. However, thank you for being patient and bearing with us, Joburgians. I'm very ashamed of us, but it's fine. Cape Town will take this L. This W, I beg your pardon, will take this L. And yeah, from me to you guys, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kari. Dan, do you want to try and squeeze in a last word before we wrap it up here? Just gonna wave in like 1995 internet quality. Cheers, and cheers everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.